Hey guys, Paul Morrow here again for opsdesk.org. I'm doing the big news recap here for Wednesday, 10 September. Here we go. Obviously, I got to talk about the Charlie Kirk situation. I've been on the air with it. I'm down in Florida to cover the Ryan Ruth trial, and I get off the plane and, I got the horrible news. Now, I want to make a couple of points relative to the investigation because you never get a chance to say what you really want to say, or at least not the whole thing on the air because you only have limited time. First of all, the case is not cold. I know people are frustrated. They want a fast arrest. But as we've seen in so many other cases recently that have bounced around in the news, from Luigi Mangione to Brian Kohberger, the first 48 hours idea, that's an anachronism. These days, with all the digital stuff and search warrants have to come back and subpoenas, if it gets to that point, if you don't get a quick solve, then you kind of transition into that level of investigation. And that can take weeks, sometimes months. And Kohberger took a month and a half. All right, but they got there. And I was saying that at the time, as a lot of people were saying, the case is cold. These guys are Keystone cops. They don't know what they're doing. No, these things take time. Now, one of the things you got to look at is the video of the campus, on campus. These campuses have to have a ton of video these days, and I hope they did at this place. So much stuff happens on campuses these days. You get women are attacked, and there are date rape things and drug deals and all kinds of stuff. And I go back to, just because the public knows the case, the Jose Ibarra case, when Laken Riley was killed. One of the ways they got Ibarra quite quickly was the campus video. We have shooters these days, school shooters. You have to have good video. I think right now they are certainly pulling video, and they're doing what the NYPD did in the Luigi Mangione case, which is they're trying to leapfrog from video to video, place to place, to follow the movements of this shooter up onto that roof, and also as he or she flees. Now, we don't know how he or she got out of there. Was there a car, or did they leave on foot? Maybe the car was parked off campus to try to avoid cameras. I would argue the person then does know the area, does know the campus, and that means you got to go back further. Either way, you got to go back further than the event itself. That's not the first time that shooter is on that roof. You don't show up with a long gun intent on committing a homicide and just wing it and hope I can get up on the roof. What if the roof is locked? What if there's a security guard in that building? That shooter knew the terrain. He also knew that that stage was likely going to be set up where it was, because in previous events, that's where the stage was. He knew that. Okay, and he also knew that he could get the angle of the shot. So I'm also not totally convinced that this person had to have military training as an expert shot. Could it be? Sure. But you know what? Somebody who's familiar with guns, who's practiced a lot with a long gun, maybe had a scope, that it could be done. Okay, I think, however, that there's definitely a lot of prep here, and you got to go back and pull video and see and do interviews and see if you'd seen people around that shouldn't have been there, or maybe live there, work there, whatever, but have an inordinate interest in that route. There's something off there. My understanding is right now they're canvassing door to door around the campus, knocking on doors to see if they saw anybody going through backyards and fleeing. That tells me that they may have a theory that the person fled on foot and got off the campus. They may have tracked the person off campus and then lose track of them because there's not as many cameras off campus. And so now they're down to, let's pull ring cameras and things like that. But almost certainly, the person ultimately gets in a car someplace. And that's a vulnerability for that shooter. I want to go into one last thing real quick. This feels like a watershed moment. The political violence now has been ratcheting up. 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life. I don't think that the general public realizes how popular this guy was. I know it from young people in my life. This guy was beloved. He was a rock star among the young, not just college, down to high school. For them, this is a JFK moment. And whoever this shooter was, he completely miscalculated. And aside from the fact that it's an evil act, and God bless Kirk and his family, but this is only going to amplify the message of Charlie Kirk and his legacy. People are going to tune into it more than ever. And let me just close with this. Donald Trump, I hope, is being guarded carefully, because Charlie Kirk, God bless him, he is Trump adjacent. And who they want is Trump, and they've tried at least twice. And they're down 1,000 Secret Service agents. We did the podcast on the Ops Desk. Many of you saw it. Get a surge going. We need more Secret Service agents. Get cops and put them around Trump. They're going to try again. Paul Morrow.